Connecticut, we age well, we age well, we all can. In Connecticut, we age well in every town across the lifespan.
Welcome to the Age Well Academy, celebrating that our communities are stronger when we all belong. The Age Well Academy is produced by the Connecticut Age Well Collaborative, a statewide cross-sector initiative that fosters aging, dementia, and disability-inclusive communities.
The Connecticut Age Well Collaborative is an initiative of
Connecticut Community Care, identifying choices and providing services and supports to help people of all ages, abilities, ethnicities, and incomes live their best lives at home.
We're also generously supported by
the Point 32 Health Foundation,
along with
the State Department of Aging and Disability Services,
and a growing number of funders and partners. This year, the Age Well Academy focuses on how your community can take action. Together, we'll examine neighborhood-level data available for every city and town in the state. We'll explore how local governments and community residents can build bridges to co-create more vibrant, accessible communities. We'll journey inward, examining our own minds and hearts as we work together to dismantle ageism, and we'll uplift amazing, inclusive places right here in Connecticut. Welcome to the Age Well Academy.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome. I'm so glad you're here. My name's Alyssa Norwood, and I'm director of the Age Well Academy. And I just want to take a moment in our busy lives, just land, and don't make this another meeting or another thing you've clicked, but really give yourself to the experience and arrive right now with joy that you're taking time for yourself, for your learning, and I invite you into full presence. So if there's that one last email you need to send, one last text, if there are lots of windows open on your computer or on your phone, to take this moment to just come into a more integrated state and to remember what it is to just fully be here now and just doing one thing at a time, which is all we can truly do. For anyone who's blind or visually impaired, I am wearing purple glasses and I have dark hair with bits of gray blossoming in it and hopefully a joyful expression because I'm just so happy to see you all. Our topic today is building community authority, empowering older adults, and I'm so excited to share this story. So I want to begin by talking a little bit about the concept of livable communities, and I'll start with a story. So these houses on the left are all houses that are in my neighborhood. I live in a pretty stereotypical town where 70% of the housing stock are single family homes and bedrooms are primarily on the first floor. And I never really thought about this until one day when I was walking to my children's elementary school, running late and pushing a stroller to go pick someone up. And I went quickly over a bump in the sidewalk, and in one cartoonish moment, my water bottle fell out of the stroller. I slipped on the cylinder, and down I went. And up I came again pretty quickly, knowing I was late to go pick up my child. And it wasn't until I got home I fully appreciated the pain I was in and had fully understood that I horribly sprained my ankle. And we all have some iteration of this story of suddenly being in a space that was really familiar to us and noting how different it is to navigate. If you look at the photos, if you can see all of the houses in my neighborhood, mine included, have steps coming up to the front. There are bumps in the sidewalk. There are all kinds of new obstacles that weren't even visible in my sphere before this moment and this experience. And some of us show up in this world living with a disability, and that's our norm. Some of us might have an acute experience like I did. Some of us might grow into a chronic disability. And some of us, just by being alive and being in a changing mind and body, experience our environment in an ever unfolding and different and way. And this is the conversation, and this is what it is when we talk about livable communities, this broad ecosystem that helps us thrive across the lifespan, whether it's about having a variety of different housing types, a variety of different kinds of accessible and affordable transportation, places of social connectivity. So we have a diagram on the right that outlines these different impact areas that all show up together, woven together in this beautiful way that create communities that we can all thrive. And I work for an organization called Connecticut Community Care that for over 40 years has been working to help people live their best lives at home with support services and connections to loved ones and community. And it's part of this larger and beautiful movement where Connecticut has really been a front runner in what's called rebalancing our long-term services and support systems and honoring choice so that people can age or experience disability in institutional settings or can choose to be home. And the superpower of Connecticut Community Care through its care management is helping people thrive at home where partnership is needed and where the work of its Connecticut Age Well Collaborative initiative comes in is making sure that people are also thriving in community. So our work, as many of you know, is with town governments, and we're just so delighted to have the opportunity to be in this conversation with you today because working with town governments is only part of the picture. We need to be in a larger constellation that deeply involves co-creation with community members as well. So over the course of this year's Age Well Academy, we'll be touching upon all of the different things that we do from our Daring Dialogue program to a book that we wrote called A Kid's Book About Ageism, conversation guide you can download, or the topic of today, the Community Leaders Fellowship, which is a program we do with municipal government that we actually first piloted ourselves. Connecticut Age Well Collaborative didn't want to undertake any journey with a town without having first directly experienced it. So that's the story we'll be telling today and why. For those of you who aren't aware, we've partnered for the past several years with the University of Massachusetts' Center on Gerontology, and the Healthy Aging Data Report is an incredible Connecticut-specific resource with town-based data about healthy aging. And the urgency and the opportunity really stems from demographic changes in the state. So since the last report in 2021, the number of older adults as a proportion of the population has grown. And at this moment, almost a quarter of the state's residents are age 60 and older. So we celebrate that longevity and recognize the introspection and opportunity that comes with it. And with that, I want to turn things over to my amazing colleague and Associate Director of the Connecticut Age Well Collaborative, Christina Gray, to talk a little bit about our why, Christina, right? That's a big circle with lots of
It's a
impact areas. So where do we start?
it's a big circle. Good morning, everybody. So one of our goals is a systemic change. So it's not just how do you affect the individual, how does it happen in a one and done, but how does it work in a system? So in the slide, you can see there are words mental modes, power dynamics, relationships, resources, practices, and policy. And there's a theory of change called the waters of systems change. So this is an inverted triangle. Where at the bottom it says mental modes. And mental modes is just a fancy way of saying how we think and how we feel about issues. And at the top, you can see policy, practices, and resource flows. So these are laws that get passed, rules that are made, where money follows. And these are things that really make the news. This is what a lot of people see on the surface. But in the middle, there's that relationships and connections and power dynamics. And that is the how. That is the how we actually make those policy practices and resources flow. So our focus at the Connecticut Age Well Collaborative is on those first two tiers, the mental modes, how we think and feel about issues, and then those relationships and power dynamics, how do we do the work with others? So This is ageism. So when we do our mental work, we are doing culture shifts. So this is what we do with our book, a kid's book about ageism. This is what we do with our campaign, Every Age, Every Ability. And I know we've got upcoming webinars on those topics, but today we're talking about the relationships and the power dynamics.
So
So I think
Christina,
there's,
just
is there one more?
it's so interesting to me. If we could just take a step back for a second. So on that previous slide, you talked about policies and then these mental modes. I'm thinking about this story that you've told in one of our workshops about how we relate to older adults in our lives and how someone might have a special chair. Would you mind
The
telling that
chair.
story?
Sure, sure. So in our Daring Dialogues, that's one of the ways it's part of our campaign, and we talk about these mental modes. And if you're like me, your grandparent probably had a special chair. And these chairs were so important that actually, when my grandfather passed away, my husband's grandfather passed away, I asked for this chair. And I was taught, look at grandpa's chair, you don't sit in grandpa's chair, you don't think about grandpa's chair, you don't put a pillow on grandpa's chair, right? You give that space. That is his space. It is a sign of respect, it's a sign of reverence to reserve this for him. And then we become older adults and we have an epidemic of social isolation and loneliness. And if you were socialized to believe that it is respectful and good to leave an older person alone, and then we wonder, why is it that there's hesitancy to call or to visit? And it's not that you're a bad person or the people that taught you this was a sign of respect was bad. It's just unpacking what is the way you think and feel, whether it's conscious or unconscious, and how does that affect your day to day now? Because those policies, those practices, those power flows are all driven by your mental modes. We make decisions based off what we think and believe is right. And we learn that in lots of different ways. And usually we think about the academics or the professional training and not so much how you were socialized, which is just so incredibly ingrained in us.
Yeah,
It is a fun story.
I remember, Christina, it blew my mind because I've spent a lot of my time in the policy sphere thinking about housing, right? And it's just so normative and pretty historically recent that senior housing is even a phrase that we've decided as a society that it's okay to have age segregated housing, that it might be on the periphery of town. So that previous diagram and the power of doing this work around mental modes first is you understand the root of where these policies come from, right? And for some of us, it might start with that idea of grandpa's chair. So grateful for you sharing that story.
I'm looking at grandpa's chair right now, it's sitting in my living room. And so the second part, this relationships and connections. So not just our relationships with our grandpas and their chairs, but also the power dynamics, who's making decisions about what. So Alyssa was talking about housing, right? So it's who gets to make decisions about housing and where somebody is going to live, whether that is a family decision or that is blown up. So it's a municipal decision about where are we going to build housing? What does it look like? Who is allowed in there? So our Community Leaders Fellowship is really grounded in this two-pronged approach of relationship and connections and power dynamics. So we are entering our third year of the fellowship, and today you're going to hear about the inaugural fellowship, how that happened, and hopefully hear from some of our fellows. But the goal has been consistent throughout, and that is really, how do you build relationships between older adults who have the lived experience of ageism and the people in power who are making those decisions? And so the theory is that those relationships that will be built over their time in the fellowship will outlast this program and will continue on, so that the fellowship lives on through these budding relationships. And that within the fellowship, there is some sort of project, there is some sort of collaborative event, purpose, where you are sharing power, which is why it's so important to bring in this mixed group, intergroup dialogue, interprojects of older adults with a lived experience and the folks with the power dynamics.
Awesome. Thank you, Christina. And I'm so excited because here with us today are two of the fellows who took this initial journey. So I'll introduce them first, and then Cynthia and Lisa, I'm so excited for you to speak in your own voices. But Cynthia Highland, I'm going to let them tell the story of who they are, but I do want to share quotes from our journey together in our multi-month experience. So Cynthia said, I hope the wonderful work that people do in their communities to make their towns more livable can really include all of us, not just the people that you see or that show up for meetings, but everyone who might be hidden to you. And it's just incredible to think about what the barriers are. So, going to a town meeting in the evening, right? Who's not in the room? Can a caregiver get there in the evening? What does it look like to be able to get the respite needed and the resources needed to show up? What does it take to have the courage to walk up to a microphone? What factors and conditions might make it difficult for someone to do that? So there's this incredible gift that we get in democracy to show up and have a voice, and yet all of these unseen barriers that mean that we're only seeing a small piece of the population. So really appreciate, Cynthia, your naming the importance of everyone's voice being included. And then also very excited to welcome Lisa Bress, who said, being part of this process was so valued to me as an individual and a municipal leader. After hearing about the group members' needs, I was grateful for the services my community was already providing and gained insight into areas where we could do better. It reinforced my core belief that listening to your constituents' lived experiences is a valuable resource that's lost when our outreach efforts rely on impersonal surveys or is limited to input at public meetings. So, Lisa and Cynthia, welcome. I'm so glad you're here. And anyone else who would like to have your cameras on, we're thrilled to see you. But Lisa, I wonder if you could start us off, and Cynthia, if you could go second, just tell everyone who you are, who you are.
Well, my name is Lisa Bress, and I'm a mother.
Lisa, I think you got muted accidentally. We were
Oh,
trying
sorry
start again.
about
Sorry,
that.
we were muting out other folks so your voice could be heard. Anyway, go ahead, go
Okay.
right ahead.
No, I was just explaining that my name is Lisa Bress, and I am a mom to a person who's neurodiverse, and I'm the wife of a veteran who has dementia, early cognitive decline, and I'm an aging individual who got involved in, and I was also deputy mayor at the time when I signed on to be part of the Community Leaders Fellowship. And the reason I did was because it was an opportunity. First of all, I hit the trifecta because what the community fellowship was trying to do was to make communities that are more disability, aging, and dementia friendly. So all of those pieces touched my life deeply. But it also was important to me as a municipal leader because I found that a lot of times, as said in the slide, we were hearing only particular voices and not everyone's voices. So the opportunity to brainstorm with others who were interested in helping towns create more inclusive communities was very, very important to me. And that's why I volunteered to get involved.
So glad you did. And Cynthia, tell everyone who you are.
Hi, I'm Cynthia. I live in Hamden, Connecticut. And when I look at the triangle that Christina just explained, immediately I see the fellowship. It was a transformational experience for me that pushed me toward being more involved in structural change. It pains me to admit that before the fellowship, ageism and ableism weren't even in my vocabulary. They weren't on my radar. But now I can't stop seeing the effects of both of these things or discussing it. I'm always the person talking about ageism with both younger and older people. And the fellowship made me braver. When Alyssa said, "Oh, we're going to write a book," I said, "Okay." When recently a professor at Southern said, "We have a new minor in critical disability studies," I said, "Sign me up." I don't hesitate like I used to. And my hope, that's my hope around the fellowship, that whenever an individual or group interacts with any of the age well programs, they get that experience of a shift in mindset and feel more empowered to engage with structural change.
Oh, Cynthia, we're so grateful. I love that you said this made me braver because these are times that call for courage and inner fortitude. So I just really appreciate you naming that because we all need to rise to the occasion of being a little braver in this moment. So thank you. So we want this to be interactive. So I'm going to turn things back over to Christina in a moment. I'm going to put some slides back up and we're going to flow back and forth between telling the story of our experience and hoping that it can inspire a little bit of self-reflection so that you can think about in your own work, whether as a community member, nonprofit or other organization that works with town government or someone in town government, how you can take the principles that you've heard here. And I also see members of this group who have participated in our municipal fellowship. So looking forward to the dialogue. But Christina, I'm going to reshare the slides so that you can introduce this next topic for people to think
Sure.
about.
And I'm going to take that one step further. In a moment, we're going to open the floor for people to actually share. So it's a good time to get that unmute button ready. So we talked a little bit about the what, we met a little bit about the who. So we're talking about community engagement, and there's lots of different ways that you can engage a community. This model is a spectrum of an engagement strategy by level of participation that incorporates lived experience. So there is no right or wrong or good or bad as part of this slide. What is true is the further right you go on the slide, the more you are incorporating lived experience. So the first ring is community received. This is that kind of one-way communication where the municipality or the entity in power is sending out information to the people, newsletters, announcements, results and outcomes, that sort of piece. The next ring is community informed. So this often is still one way, but it's incoming. So this is when a municipality is seeking information and taking it in. So surveys, town halls, focus groups, listening tour, advisory groups, they are gathering the information, but the folks in power are still the deciders. When we get to the third ring, we have community involved. So this is where you start to see those co-creation pieces, and people are not just sharing information, but working together. So steering committees, when there is representation and leadership, task force, project delegation, there is actual work being done together. And this fourth one, which is incredibly rare, is community driven. So this is not just the co-creation of doing projects together, but really the folks who are experiencing that marginalization, the oppression, are leading the charge on what needs to be done and how. So they have a lot of decision-making power, and that includes things like how a project will go, but also around budget. So this is incredibly rare, and all are important. But if your goal is to bring in more lived experience and share power dynamics, it's important to be thinking about where are you and where might you want to go. So we're going to do a little bit of that now. And if we go, so reflection question for you, we'll give you about 1 minute to think. How can older adults engage currently with your municipality or department? So what is currently true? What are the things that you are currently doing where older adults can engage and bring their lived experience? If you've got a piece of paper, I call it.
I was just going to name, thank you for our imperfection, right? We're all humaning. So it should say, how can older adults currently engage? We're just really excited about engagement, I guess. So I wrote it twice. We'll correct the slides before we send them to you. As you do that, I'm going to stop the share. If you need a reference point, we're happy to mention the different pieces on the spectrum, but we want to bring all of us into community. So you can reflect. It's also, so one thing I'm going to say is whether you're intending to speak or not, we all have a role in this. We all get to be joyful witnesses to each other, and it really takes courage to unmute and speak up. So if you're not, please still turn on your camera and put on your best, like, energetic face and, you know, send good vibes and a smile to the person who's going to be brave and speak first. So you have a job to do, even if you're not going to talk. All right, Melissa, nice. Welcome. And if you could say who you are and where you're from professionally.
Yep. My name is Melissa Hurley, and I am the social worker for the Torrington Police Department. So one of the things that I know that our officers do is we do the coffee with cops on a regular basis, and we've moved our location to the McDonald's because there's a large group of seniors that meet every day at McDonald's for their coffee. So they now look forward to the days when the cops are coming. So that's one way, but also we're in the process of starting a chore program for our seniors with the goal of our nonprofit organizations or our two local schools that have an ag program to help elderly with chores that are outdoors of their home. So maintaining their lawn or leaf pickup. So we're trying to create that connection for our seniors. So
If you haven't connected with Newtown or Friends of Newtown Seniors, they're on our website as a fellow. They have a fantastic chore program. So this is
okay,
where
great.
that cross learning.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
And Melissa, I want to take a moment to celebrate you and to just reflect for a moment, you know, for those who have worked in municipal government a long time, to think about the notion of the intersectionality of social work and police work,
Yeah.
is still quite new. And of course it shouldn't be, right? We're all human, so social work shows up everywhere, but that's embedded in the
Yeah.
functioning of Torrington is incredible, and just so excited for the work you do.
Yeah, it's really neat because my job is partially to work with the community, but it's also a big part is to work with the officers and their wellness and assuring that their mental health needs are not being ignored.
That's great.
Yeah,
Thank you.
it's fantastic. All right, thanks.
Sure. Who else? Who else would like to share where you are? And I just want to name wherever you are is perfect, right? Like I've just begun the journey. I don't know yet. This is new to me, right? There's nothing performative here. This isn't a grade. If it did, you have an A. You're here. So go ahead and share where you are. Who else would like to?
Hi, I'm Jen Kelly. I'm the Winstead Senior Center Director.
Hi, Jen. Go
Hey,
ahead.
Jen.
That Western Connecticut Area Agency on Aging.
Nice.
Thanks.
What engagement is happening in your town?
Well, pretty much everything that I do for my job is engaging with older adults. I don't know what the question is then, if that's.
Is there an opportunity for, so it sounds like you're working with adults pretty regularly. Is there an opportunity where older adults maybe get to share their perspective or suggestions, or a place where you or the department are seeking that information to bring in some of their lived experience to how you do your day-to-day work?
Well, except for when I'm on Zoom calls, my door is always open. So I think that's what I do all day, every day.
Wonderful.
Awesome.
Thank you,
Thank you for
Jen. And I saw Cheryl.
That's me. Hi.
Hi.
Thank you for the opportunity. I am in Rocky Hill, and I am with Eminence Home Care. And we're a home care provider, which to me is very one-dimensional. So I've been in the business and have 25 years as a behavior therapy specialist. So I bring into a little bit of that. But to me, collaborative effort and the idea of community is huge. So my role recently transitioned, and for me, it isn't just going in and providing a caregiver. It's really bringing in a whole community, and so my role has transitioned into really finding out what folks need, what they want, and how to get them that information. It's super easy for us in my generation, all the kids younger, right, to be like, yeah, I know where to find that, but I'm now the sandwich generation. So I listen to my dad say to me, my fingers are bigger than a Jimmy Dean sausage. I don't understand this computer. I don't understand it. How can I make that better for him? How can I help folks find DMA? How can I help folks find transportation? So providing an entire community to someone is super important to what I do. So learning about the different ways that you are all doing that just gives me ideas. When I chat with folks, it's not over the phone. Give me 10 minutes. I will come to you, meet with you, meet your family. Tell me what you need. Tell me what you need. And I will do my best to try to find that information, because to me, information should be accessible and free. And it isn't. Most people will say, And that's true. Seniors are vulnerable, but they are not weak. We just need to empower them. And that's really what I'm trying to do. So this is a fabulous forum, and I thank you for the time and learning.
We're so glad you're here. We're so glad you're here.
We're so glad you're here. So I'm going to pivot back to slides. You can keep thinking on it. So some themes that I'm hearing and I'm feeling into. There is so much work to do around navigation and connecting people to the right information and the right resources. And that can be so big and so daunting simply to be a connector and to provide services that going beyond that in any way might feel completely overwhelming. This invitation to what does it look like, not just to go find the resources, but to bring older adults into a space of co-creation where they're in fact a partner in a process. So give me a moment while I share and I talk a little bit about our journey and how it might inform a next step that you might decide to take. So creating our cohort and actually moving forward for the Connecticut AgeWell Collaborative with the Community Leaders Fellowship Program. We did this back in 2023. It was a year-long process from conceiving to recruiting to implementing to arriving at this beautiful moment, and then the continued unfolding beyond it. But the fellowship itself was a year. We had the grace to hire a consultant who helped us with recruitment and selection. And we did this over what we called 2 phases. So, phase one, we had 40 community members that were invited to participate in the fellowship. 20 that were accepted, and we had them in 2 groups at 2 different times so that we'd have the intimacy in a Zoom room. This was virtual at the time, of 10 fellows at a time. And we came together for 90-minute virtual sessions. There were 3 of them. And recruitment is everything. And I feel like we've learned a lot. We continue to learn. But some of the tools that we use, we had hard copy flyers that we posted throughout the community. Some of the places are listed here: libraries, post office, municipal services, grocery stores, and coin laundromats. So trying to get at some of the places that might not be as typical. When we do outreach, we also did a lot of electronic outreach to different organizations who were service providers and connectors across a variety of different disciplines, and then lots of listservs and individual connections, inviting people to apply for the fellowship. And one of the questions we asked on the application was, why do you want to participate in this fellowship? And I'll read, I do love my new town, but can see that it struggles both financially and in terms of infrastructure. What mainly attracts me to this program is that it deals not only with the usual services, but looks at overall quality of life. There's more to life than a bus trip to a senior center and meal delivery. And so embedded in that quote for me is this idea, one, that we're holistic, right? Like to be human is a broad endeavor and tinged with a little bit of the ageism in there, right? I think there's at a societal level, a kind of automaticity. You hear older adult in the context of municipal government, and this is some of our conditioning. So building our fellowship, I'm going to circulate these slides afterwards. There's just such rich opportunity since we're here to be in conversation. Some of them I'll go through or even skip, and you can revisit them later because I want to maintain the freshness of our dialogue. So thank you in advance for your grace in that way. So these are some of our fellows. You can see Lisa in this picture. And some of the things that we did is, one, it was really important for us, first and foremost, to create a safe space. So when we met in these sessions, I mentioned we had a size that created enough opportunity for diversity of perspectives, but that honored intimacy. We didn't record, and to really create an opportunity to feel fully empowered in their sharing, we obviously wanted storytelling to be a big part of this. We're thrilled Cynthia and Lisa are here, but we gave choices for what extent people inhabited the space, right? It's a very vulnerable thing to share. So people had a choice of whether their image was used, their voice, their name, and their quotes, or different degrees on the spectrum. And then what did we do in the fellowship? We kept it really simple. And these are 3 questions that you might use as a step in community engagement, whether this is new to you or you've done this a lot. We asked what works well in your communities, what feels hard, and what can improve. And depending on where you sit, this can be an interactive exercise where you simply post the questions and people have post-it notes. This can be part of a conversation, but they're really incisive and it's helpful to hear what people say. And this is a word cloud that got generated from that exercise. It distills and it's not going to be where we go deep today, but you might just take in the visual of some of the words that are most prominent. Housing shows up a lot. Accessibility, affordability, community. So this is all in response to how my town can be more inclusive with the larger and more frequent words representing the higher proportion of time that those were answered. So as we continued our fellowship into phase two, this is going to be one of the ones I skip over because I want to get to the good stuff. What we didn't know when we came to its end. Well, let me start. Let me start at the beginning, right? It says Julie Andrews, a very good place to start. At the beginning, we knew as we moved into phase two of the fellowship that our goal was to bring a select number of fellows into positions of power. Christina talked about power dynamics, and we wanted community members with lived experience to ultimately be on our steering committee and be voices within the steering committee. So that was the goal, as well as some storytelling. We ended with a presentation on our work. But what's really been interesting to me, and Lisa and Cynthia, I'd love for you to join this part of the conversation, and I'll take the slide down in a moment, is that there were unintended, an unintended flow of continued partnership. Christina spoke at the beginning that the hope is that this transcends the program itself. And I'm really proud of kind of what's flowed from it. So I'll just name these three pictures and then let Christina and Cynthia expound on them. But one is our steering committee, which had lots of professionals. When we said we're going to be bringing community members with lived experience from a really open, loving, authentic place, said, well, we need mentorship, right? We need mentorship. We want to bring people in and have them get what they need. And for me, reflecting on this, mentorship really perpetuated power dynamic. Professionals engaging from a place of power with people with lived experience saying, I have knowledge that I'm going to impart to you. So we kind of turned things on their head and did things a little differently. So Lisa and Cynthia can talk about this model of mutual mentoring that we created. We wrote a book together. It was an opportunity that came our way. The Connecticut Age Well Collaborative could have sat in a room and had professionals do the writing, but we had this amazing opportunity to write something from a place of co-authorship and lived experience. And we got to pilot a program ourselves and ground truth it before we sent it out into the community. So Cynthia, we started with Lisa last time, so if it's okay with you, we'll start with you. Any reflections on your experience kind of in terms of what flowed after the fellowship?
Being invited to be part of the steering committee at first felt like a lot of the volunteer things I've done where I felt very alone in a productive crowd. In our in-person meetings, I felt like I knew Lisa, but not very many other people. So the mutual mentoring project was very powerful for me. I'm sorry I didn't get to participate this year, but last year it was really a big part of my life throughout the year. And I'd like to see other organizations use that mutual mentoring program that you've done. But I believe the exercise extends beyond meeting other people for mentoring. Aging and loneliness are receiving a lot of media coverage now. And the recommendations are always a list, and it always includes go volunteer somewhere. But from past experience, I have had that alone in the crowd feeling of just doing what an organization needs and then going home. So mutual mentoring took that relationship and connections piece of that triangle and put it in the whole flow of why we're here. It's really powerful.
Yeah. Christina, when we began mutual mentoring, there's an exercise that you did. I don't know if you remember, where you asked people, can you share kind of how you set this up? Because we keep using this phrase mutual mentoring, but I don't think we defined it.
Yeah, so we talked about mutual mentoring, and this is true for I think any mixed group. And the exercise was really, we gave everybody 2-color Post-its. And one color, we asked people to say, what is your gift to the community? What is it that you have to give? What is it that you want to share? What is it that your knowledge? Maybe you, in your former life, you worked at a foundation. Maybe you used to be a librarian. Maybe you used to be a teacher. Maybe you have a lot of community organizing. What is your gift that you want to share? And on the other Post-it, we said, what is it? What is your need? What is your want from this community? What would you like to have? And we had everybody fill these out. And so first and foremost, it's an exercise on the individual level that people have to reflect and say, well, wait a second. I do have a gift. Even if I don't know anybody, even if this is new to me, I do have a gift. And for people who have been there for decades, have to say, well, wait a second, I guess I have needs too, even though I'm the expert in the room. And then we collected all that data and typed it up. And we had, I think, a lot of fun mapping and putting people together it was sort of like dating profiles, right? And sort of matching and saying, oh, okay, well, this person wants to learn more about what older adults need, and this person, that's what their give is. And so we then created these subgroups, knowing this information. So it was very intentional, where they would go out and just spend time together with the thought that organically they would share that information. So
Christina,
very simple, but I think very fun.
I love the exercise always, especially so, societally, the word caregiver kind of reinforces that power dynamic, right? I am giving care. And in this exercise, it takes that away, right? Everyone is the giver and everyone is the receiver. And in my own languaging, I use the word care partner, right? Because the person who is, quote, receiving the care is also giving. The person who is, quote, giving the care is also receiving. And if we can move through life with an awareness of that kind of symmetry and just let's eliminate hierarchy, right? We can't do that. Like, of course, there's hierarchy in the world, but to at least soften the rough edges of it. So I love that. Lisa, would you like to share a little bit reflecting on kind of this enduring piece of the fellowship post its official end?
I, I, I think for me, during and post was important. During was just as important because as I was in the fellowship, I was learning about other people's needs in other communities. And I was able to recognize that not everybody in every community has the same opportunities. And that was really disturbing because I think I felt that it's more important that contextually we look at making sure that every community has an opportunity to receive the support they need to have things like accessibility and rides for seniors. I remember one of my cohort members said that they were ill, very ill, going through an illness, and they lived alone, and they couldn't get any rides at all in the community to their doctor appointments because they were caring for another loved one. And yet my town has senior dial-a-ride. And I was very upset to learn that there are other towns that just don't have those very necessary opportunities. So that was a learning that I learned from there. And then the mentorship was another eye opener in that we were invited to go as a mentorship group to, I believe it was Newington. And we sat and met there in the municipality, and we got to discuss and brainstorm and share a lot of initiatives and a lot of work that each person had done or was doing to move forward the needle on inclusive communities. And I would have never had the opportunity to hear about the wonderful things that are happening elsewhere and really be connected to people who are able to do the work. Sometimes for me, there's a disconnect between groups that meet to share their concerns and worries, but it doesn't get to the people who have the money and are making the decisions. And this fellowship that was supported and is supported by the subsequent towns, to me is so exciting because the fellowship and the people in their community are actually talking to the doers and the decision makers and the people who have the funds, so that those people can spend those funds more wisely. So that was the benefits for me.
Oh, Lisa, thank you. I'm reflecting on we all have so many identities, right? So right now I'm thinking about my role as an organizational leader, and all of us that live a professional life or have in the past will leave this webinar and we have some form of to-do list, right? There's a post-it note or electronic or otherwise, and there's so much speed and so much urgency, and I just sometimes feel like I'm running all the time. And hearing you talk about this mutual mentoring group and this place of discourse and reflection, it's just such a good reminder to say, like, am I running the right way, right? Like, am I running the right way? And to just pause and be put in positions where we might be uncomfortable or in dialogue with members of the community that we don't normally talk to, and just slow down and be in a stance of openness and learn. And I'm just so grateful for your shining your light on that. So I'm going to turn it back to Christina in a moment, but just to summarize, we saw a need as an organization to bring older adults with experience of ageism into relationship with municipal leaders to shift the power dynamics and to help people deeply understand that through causes and conditions and no one's fault, we all have internalized bias that shows up in either consciously or unconsciously in ageist behaviors and resulting in ageist policy making. So we're working to dismantle that. We're working to shift and change relationships and power dynamics. And this is meant to be the authentic telling of our own work to do this in all of its imperfection. After this webinar, there's a resource guide that we're finalizing that we're going to be sharing where we talk about this experience as an organization of what it was like to use the model of the fellowship, and how we tested it before we then did this work, initially with Newtown and West Hartford, and now how we're moving forward with that work in 2026. So it's incremental. It's about just this steadfast desire to say, I want to do work grounded in the fullness of knowing that I have gathered all of the information and all of the experience, not just what I see, but that I've gone one step deeper and I've tried to bring to light what's been invisible to me. So with that, I'm going to share the screen once more, and Christina, I'll turn things back over to you.
So you'll turn things back over to me, and then in a minute, I'm going to turn things back over to the group. So this is the time to turn your cameras back on. If you have a piece of paper or pen and you like that for some reflection, because we're going to have some time for share out and conversation. So we're going to talk about, the question is, where could your municipal department or community benefit from incorporating the lived experience of older adults? As Alyssa said, the original goal was, okay, let's elevate for a bigger concept of where is the need, and then through the process became more refined. So I sometimes tell folks, if I gave you a magic wand and you could wave that magic wand, and the lived experience of older adults could be brought into your community, what would that look like? You know, in the beginning, we talked a little bit about where might you already be. This is the question of where do you want to go? And part of this is theoretical, but also very practical, because the fellowship is a real living thing that your municipality can participate. We already have plans in the cohort for 2026, but applications will open for 2027. So this is the invitation to think big and potentially make it a reality. So I'm going to open it up so I can see your faces. There we go. Oh, thank you, Alyssa. That makes it much easier. So if you have this magic wand, where would you like to see the lived experience of older adults be brought into your municipal departments or communities?
I'm also going to note that building on the question from before, if there's something that you're already doing, right, it's daunting. You can start with what you're already doing if you didn't answer that question before and imagine what does it look like to take that one incremental step forward? What am I doing now that incorporates the lived experience of older adults? Or why does this feel hard? Why does it feel hard to answer? You can reflect on that too.
As a tax collector in Bolton, I would just like to, I guess, hopefully this kind of goes with what you're saying, but just from what I hear from the older community is, it's getting more and more unaffordable to pay taxes and everything like that. So, if I had a magic wand, I would probably do something, in that aspect just to make it more affordable for people. That's it.
Oh, no, Lori, that's not a that's it. That's an everyone,
Yeah,
right? And
it's
this
an
is
everyone.
this is a moment where we're all thinking about affordability. The world is shifting and really appreciate your naming that. So thank you. Who else? You could put your voice out there and not know what you're going to say. I love doing that, right? It's so interesting what shows up. We don't have to plan it. And whether or not you're in municipal government, this can be personal too, right? So you can be an older adult, you can love someone who's an older adult. Where do you want to see their voice infused in policy or process?
Hi, this is Andrew Neblett from the town of Ridgefield. I'm the IT director here. Um, Ridgefield, we've been very blessed. We totally embrace our elderly and older community. We have the Commission on Aging. They work hand in hand with the Social Services Department here. Our Board of Select Persons, the average age is above 65. And we have buses, we have Founders Hall strictly for the senior population, and we encourage their voice and in participation in basically everything that we do here in Ridgefield. So it's a big focus, and we are also starting to age as a community more to the older size. I think that has part of it to do with it, but we very much open and embrace and want their ideas because they're living history, and history is very important here. And as even here, working as an employee, when you go to retire, they keep asking you, would you be interested in consulting? Would you going to be around? Because we know that you've got, experience in your head and so forth. And so we've got some members that are in their 90s that are contributing as well. So my point is that age really isn't a barrier. It's just don't forget to ask and get them involved.
Andrew, thank you for
Andrew, it
that.
sounds like
Go ahead, Christina.
You're welcome.
it sounds like you're doing some fantastic work, and there's ample opportunities. I'm thinking back to the quote that we saw earlier, where it said, I hope that municipalities can get not just the folks who are already involved, but the folks who are missing to that extent. I'm wondering, Andrew, if you had your magic wand, is there a subpopulation of aging folks in Ridgefield that you would love to see get more involved or have more opportunity?
Well, not to sound
It
I don't
is
know what
what
the
it
right
is,
word is here,
Andrew.
but we basically are browbeating everybody to be involved. So we're pushing. It's really it's like one of our main missions here in Ridgefield is to get everyone. We don't like people excluded, so it doesn't matter what demographic you belong to. We really try to get everyone involved. We put out messaging. We have public forums. We have special days. We have groups that go around and make sure they're okay. So. If I had made wave my magic wand, I just wish more people would say, "Here we are, come." Doesn't you don't have to ask. Just here we are. Join us. And I'm aiming that at the older population that is not participating because we're not holding them back.
Andrew, I love something that you said about wanting to get everyone involved. And partly I'm thinking about this because there's this narrative that's disturbing that I'm seeing that is a little us versus them, right? The millennials versus the boomers, and the boomers versus the much older adults. And there's nothing about a conversation around dismantling ageism and uplifting the voices of older adults that's exclusive or competitive. It's just a knowing that that experience, that moving from middle age to older age and all that comes with that, and it's unique to each person, whether it's moving into a space of more invisibility, whether it's presumption that because you have white hair that somehow confers less ability in some other aspect of your physicality.
I
or
hope not. I've had white
dimension.
hair since 30.
Yeah, and I mean I'm embracing mine too, but all of these ideas that we have, they're unique to the experience of older adulthood, but that doesn't mean that we don't recognize and celebrate the contributions of everyone across the lifespan. So
Absolutely.
I know we're coming to the end of the time. So Michael Werner, you get the last word for the next minute.
Thank you so much, Alyssa and Christina, and also Andrew, for your comment on the local commissions on aging. Hot off the press, I just wanted to share this just published report that was made in collaboration with the Legislature's Commission on Women, Children, Seniors, Equity, and Opportunity, and the Department of Aging and Disability Services that compiled a list of local agencies on aging, commissions on agings, and it's our hope that this can be a resource to supplement the wonderful work that the Age Well Collaborative is doing, that all you folks are doing out in the community. Just really want to express my appreciation to everyone, and thank you for hosting this event today.
Thank you, Michael. So I'm gonna share my screen again in a moment, but before I do, I just want to name some upcoming opportunities. And Karen, before the end of our time, if you don't mind putting any in the chat. One is we have a 2.5 hour program called a Daring Dialogue that we mentioned briefly. It's an interactive workshop. It's all experiential learning. Christina told the story of the chair, and it's a very different kind of way of approaching learning that we're used to. We're so conditioned to looking for answers in books and in articles and in other people. And this is an opportunity to look within ourselves and understand our own individual role in kind of why the way things are and what our conditioning unconsciously or consciously motivates us to do and how we show up in our professional and personal spaces. So the next Daring Dialogue is at the Bristol Public Library. It's on December 9th. So we invite you to come. If you're in municipal government or know someone in municipal government, we invite you to not only come, but invite others, bring friends. There's real power in groups of people from the same town coming in this work because it's the beginning of movement building. Every single municipality in our Community Leaders Fellowship program had someone show up to a Daring Dialogue. It starts there. And then I'll share my screen to let you know that this is one of a number of opportunities in our Age Well Academy. So if you go to the Connecticut Age Well Collaborative website and navigate to the Age Well Academy page, you'll see our upcoming opportunities in 2026, and we hope to see many of you there. And I'll just close with this Albert Einstein quote: "Anyone who has never made a mistake has never tried anything new." This work is hard, so appreciative of your time and tenacity to come and to be curious and to be reflective on what's something new you can try, and to be embracing and self-compassionate, because absolutely you'll make mistakes along the way, and that's what it's all about, and we celebrate that too. So thank you so much, everyone, for being here today, and have a wonderful rest of your day.
Connecticut, we age well, we age well, we all can. In Connecticut, we age well in every town across the lifespan. We all gather wisdom in our own open hearts, growing stronger when we all belong. Opportunity in community, including everyone, is where it starts. In Connecticut, we age well, we age well, we all can. In Connecticut, we age well in every town across the lifespan. Got complete streets we can get around, housing choice and public space abound. Join our progress toward equity, deep connection and inclusivity. Visioning the future, we listen and we learn. Let's go where we grow all life long. When we feel seen, you know we're shining bright. When we honor choice, we know we're living right. Follow all to chart systems change, to make places we can thrive. We'll plan and zone together, dance here every season is good, it's so good, good to be alive. In Connecticut, we age well, we age well, we all can. In Connecticut, we age well in every town across the lifespan. In Connecticut, we age well, we age well, we all can. In Connecticut, we